In my experience and working with clients, one of the best ways to find clarity and direction in relationship is by getting the stuff that's in your mind out on paper, to journal it out, to see your thoughts, and then to differentiate the ones that are true that you want to listen to from the ones that are probably a fallacy or maybe over dramatized in your mind. If you follow me, you know that I never claim to be an expert. And believe me, this area of life in particular, I have worked with coaches and therapists and done a lot of my own work in this realm. So if that is you as well, you're not alone. And today I am sharing 5 journal prompts to help declutter your mind in this area. Before diving into the video, if you would like to see these journal prompts on paper or have them for after this video, download the free PDF linked in the blog below. To ensure you never miss a free alignment training that I release every Tuesday, subscribe and turn on your notifications. And if you are particularly excited about this video topic, give this video a like. Last week, I walked you through a 7-step process to foster and maintain self-trust. One of the most difficult areas to implement self-trust, in my experience personally and working with my clients, is relationships. Last month in my group membership program, we dedicated an entire month to relationships. And the feedback I received on all of our weekly group calls was that this challenge, out of all of them that we have done, has been the most difficult for my clients. To me, this makes total sense. Relationships, unlike many other areas of our life, are inevitably linked between two people with 2 different preferences, 2 different ways of understanding the world, of seeing the world, 2 different histories and built belief systems. Furthermore, when compared to other areas of alignment, relationships tend to bring out the most emotions. Although my members shared that that was one of the most challenging challenges we went through together in the Yes and experience, they all came out of it with greater clarity, new perspectives, and a broadened concept of what relationship means and how it impacts our life. If you, too, are courageous enough to show up in this space that can feel muddy, that can feel emotional, that can feel overwhelming, you will also gain these insights, this broadened perspective and clarity in your own mind and in your own relationships. So let's dive in to these 5 prompts. Prompt number 1 is to choose and declare the relationship that you're going to focus on for this round of journaling. This is the step to set the tone for reducing overwhelm and not getting in over our head. What my members said inside the experience is that they were often called to address the relationship that was causing the most conflict or the one that was most on their mind at the beginning of our challenge together. However, they soon learned that addressing that head on was actually too much. As I gave in metaphor last week, it was starting with the 50-pound dumbbell instead of starting at the 5 pounds and working our way up. So I promise these 5 prompts are not going away, and you can go through this cycle as many times as you need. Knowing that, start with a relationship that feels interesting, that feels like it would be helpful to explore, but maybe not one that feels so overwhelming or so top of mind that it's a little bit too muddy to really parse out what's going on in that relationship. In your PDF, you'll see I gave a few examples of types of relationships you can explore. Of course, there are the ones that come to mind really easily, like relationships with our parents, with our family, with our spouse, with our friends. We can also broaden this concept of relationships, however, to include your relationship with your job, your relationship with yourself, your relationship with your hobbies or your belief systems or your mind or your physical body, your relationship with the earth. So invite yourself to stay open, and again, start with a small weight relationship so that you can explore these prompts and learn an insight before diving into the deep end. Prompt 2, in true Yes and fashion, is continuing on this journey of simplicity and taking bite-sized action. So not only are we focusing in on one relationship, as we declared in prompt 1, but in prompt 2, we are focusing in on one aspect of that relationship. So maybe I choose to explore my relationship with my emotions, and that's the chosen relationship I'm walking through. Then I get even more specific, and I say I want to specifically focus in on my presence, my ability to be present with emotions. Or I could narrow down that relationship by focusing in on one particular emotion rather than emotions as a whole. Maybe I focus in on my relationship with sadness specifically. And if I really want to get specific, I could say my relationship with sadness and how I am present or not present with sadness in my life. If you're focused on a more traditional relationship, so maybe your relationship with your partner or your relationship with your son or daughter, then you may focus in on play in that relationship or intentional conversation or greater vulnerability. The truth is, when we hone in our attention into these small, bite-sized way of exploring concepts, we often gain deeper insight than if we try to do it all at once or go really broad. From there, we go to the ideal. In this specific relationship and this specific aspect of that relationship, what does the ideal look like? What does the ideal feel like? What are you striving for or inspired to pursue? If that ideal was your reality, what would it lead to? What would the outcomes be for yourself, for the other person or the other thing involved, for the relationship as a unit, for the ripple effect that that relationship would then have on the greater world? Really broaden your mind here and get creative about what the ideal could really be for you. So as another example, if I were to focus in on my relationship with my brother, and specifically the conversations I have with my brother, in an ideal world, these would be open, these would be without expectation. I would learn something new about him, and maybe he would learn something new about me. It would lead to easy, casual, fun conversation, insights that we wouldn't be able to have if I was in this space of expectation or control in the conversation. And if that ideal happened, the ripple effect for a family may be greater ease. The ripple effect for the world may be greater ideas. New things come to be because he and I shared an interest or created an idea together based on the things that were in our minds that wouldn't have been shared otherwise. Again, this is an ideal. So go big, dream grand visions of what is possible. And then go on to step 4. Where we talk about our limiting beliefs and our fears in this relationship and in the exploration of this concept. One of the great misconceptions about positive psychology is that we only focus on the positive, but in fact, that can be really harmful. And letting the fears and the limiting beliefs and all the feelings, no matter what they are, come to the surface and be okay, accept them as they are, maybe even learn from them, is such a valuable part of this experience and this exploration. So maybe these already feel obvious to you. As you've gone through prompts 1, 2, and 3, the fears were bubbling under the surface already. This is your time, this is your space to write them out, to brain dump. And remember, this is your journal. You can even get rid of the paper or delete the Word document or however you're choosing to journal after this. And so don't worry about any judgment associated with these fears. Don't worry about someone else reading them. And if you're especially worried, again, you can delete all of this after this activity. Getting it out of your mind is so valuable and helps to foster that clarity. Furthermore, especially with fears, oftentimes when they remain in our mind, they feel so powerful and overcoming. Whereas if we get them out on paper, their weight and their pressure diminishes significantly. So going back to the example I gave earlier, if I am exploring my relationship with emotions, and specifically with sadness, I may have an ideal that I could be with sadness in a really content way, and it feels really good. And then my fears creep in that maybe if I explore sadness, if I invite that into my life, it'll never leave. Maybe that will be the only emotion that I experience, or I fear how powerful that emotion is because historically I've blocked it out so strongly. Maybe I have a limiting belief that if I feel sad, I'm not a good person or I'm not grateful for this incredible life that I'm living. Maybe I have a historic belief that was taught to me via my family or society that sadness is weakness. And so in letting myself feel sad, I am somehow making myself weaker. Even with some of those examples I just gave, where I don't even hold those beliefs, it feels so good to just say them and air them out. To even write them down or say them into your phone, however you are choosing to journal, helps to open up that exploration to say, is that true? Is that something that I'm holding on to? And maybe not, in which case, great, you just cleared something out of the space that didn't need to be there. Another reminder for this part of the exercise in particular is if you write down a fear and it actually does feel true, it does feel really scary, please lean into extra support. I am here for you. Or there are so many other resources, friends, other coaches, therapists that you can lean into for extra support. Or what can also feel supportive is to remind yourself that these are just thoughts. These are just beliefs. They are not the truth. They are not predicting the future or setting anything in stone. So please lean into support when needed or desired. And remind yourself, these are just concepts that your mind has created. Which leads us directly to the last prompt for today, prompt 5. What do you choose to believe? If you haven't already, you may go back to prompt 4 and cross out the fears, cross out the beliefs that do not align with what feels good for you, with what feels true for you. And you may go back to prompt 3 and determine which part of that ideal most resonates with you, most excites you. In the PDF, I also state what is within your control. So especially with relationships, what can feel frustrating is that we don't have control over another human. We don't have control over what they think or what they believe or how they perceive or interpret what we're saying or how we're acting. And so as you step into this ideal, as you step into exploring your version of health in this relationship, ask yourself the question, what am I in control of? Where do I have autonomy and control here? And utilize that to your advantage, rather than focusing on or trying to manipulate something that you can't control. Just as we started, I encourage you here in this 5th prompt to get specific. So potentially this exercise is helpful, again, just to get that clutter out of your mind and out on paper. And if you found an insight here that you actually want to implement and take action or have as an intention for your upcoming day or week, set that for yourself as well. And prompt 5 is your space to do so. As my members expressed, as I definitely experience in my own life, relationships can be a really challenging aspect of alignment and living authentically. So give yourself compassion as you walk through this exercise. As another reminder, start with the light weights and then work your way up, staying specific and small as you go so that it never feels overwhelming. And again, if you want extra support, if you're interested in that membership community and learning from the insights that were gained there when we focused on this topic for 5 straight weeks, please reach out to me or click the link below for the Yes and experience. The Yes and experience is also where we take a lot of this reflection and put it into action. That's why it's called the experience. So if you're ready to take that step beyond reflection, beyond internalizing these wonderful insights, and you want it to manifest out in your life, that's where to go. Join us in the Yes and experience. As a summary for today, you have 5 journal prompts to explore healthy relationships in your life, and you have a free PDF download available on my blog. I invite you to take action by joining the Yes and experience, my group coaching program. Or if you want to start a little bit more bite-sized, take my free strengths quiz if you haven't taken that already. This quiz gives you insights about whether you are intention or action-oriented and also informs you of what to do with that information afterwards. Lastly, I would be so appreciative if you liked this video. I assume you liked it if you made it all the way through to the end. If you know someone who could use these prompts in their own relationships, share this video with a friend. And don't forget to subscribe and turn on your notifications so that you don't miss future alignment trainings posted right here every Tuesday. That is all from me for today. My name is Maren Lauka. I am the owner of Yes and as an alignment coach, speaker, and author, I empower professional women to release limiting beliefs and false expectations for how life should be so that they can own their potential, make their positive impact, and at last experience true fulfillment. I'll see you next week.